All right, guys, so we want to demonstrate how we start up the car because the process is actually pretty interesting.
It is.
So let's go ahead and show the viewers how it's done. First, you need the ignition. You turn on your fuel pump, and there's actually a push to start.
Welcome back. It's 2019, and we're calling this season 2. My name is Rossato. That's Gaston Rossato.
And I'm Renzo Rossato, and today we have a 1955 Aston Martin DB2/4, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, a Mark II.
We're dressed for the occasion because this is what it makes you feel. We're in Brickell, Miami.
Yes, we are.
We're going to go for a drive. We're going to enjoy this ourselves, but we're going to let other people enjoy this as well because it's a rare sight on the road.
It's a beautiful sight on the road, so let's not waste any more time.
Let's go for that drive.
She's a 4-speed, correct?
4-speed manual, and they all came with 4 speeds.
This particular car is used to sitting in a showroom and not really...
It was built for a museum car.
Right.
And this car was fully restored about 5 or 6 years ago. But I'm talking about nut and bolt, full restoration.
No, I can tell.
The car basically stayed at a garage, or a museum rather, pretty much that entire time after restoration. So, in fact, the miles that we're putting on it right now are the break-in miles.
The break-in miles, right.
Kind of like dialing in the car right now.
What we were mentioning before was the more we move this car around, the more we're driving it, it starts to loosen up a little more.
Right.
But it won't loosen up too much.
Hopefully it doesn't loosen up. Hopefully it won't loosen
Hopefully
up
not.
and fall apart.
So this dash, it doesn't allow me to put my knees straight, so I need to stick my feet up to the firewall.
I feel like I'm driving inside a piece of furniture. Because it's like kind of like you're on this couch.
Yeah, it's true.
The dash is off. It's just centered to the car, so literally right in front of me, there's no instrument. It's just the wheel, the steering column,
Yeah.
and the pedals. It's very basic. And the first gauge that I have a clear view of is a tachometer, which makes sense for a car that was so inspired around motorsports. A tachometer, that's always more important than how fast you're going, right? So that would be the next gauge, is the speedometer. Then we have basically all our switches here: ignition, fuel pump, and whatnot, lights.
And the tachometer is very common with Aston Martin. It's backwards to what the speedometer is.
Right.
It goes so that they're both reversed.
They work, yeah. It's counterclockwise.
Which is pretty badass.
And then the final gauge is we have our temperature, fuel gauge, oil pressure,
And the amps.
and our amps for the battery meter. The other hard thing to get used to is this tiny little rear view mirror.
It's the only mirror you have.
That vibrates all over the place, so you can't gotta do double takes to understand what you're looking at behind you.
Or just do a full turn. It's a 2+2. So we're now 2, but if we want to add 2, we could just simply pop that seat back.
Lift up the back seat.
And then we can have...
Now we have room for a small child. A 2.9 liter inline 6.
I'm telling you,
for 1955 was quite the power.
Making around 160 horsepower, right?
Your first cars, DB2s, were actually 4-cylinders, inline 4s.
Oh wow!
So it was.
This was an upgrade.
2 more cylinders was certainly a huge performance upgrade. Doing about 160 horses, give or take. At least when it was brand new. Today, it's probably a different story.
All right, guys, so we're down here in this underground garage in Brickell, so we can get away from the people, the crowd, the traffic, and talk a little bit more about the DB2.
A little one-on-one, more intimate setting.
Exactly. So the DB2 was a car produced from 1950 to 1957 with a lot of variations in between. So let's talk a little bit more about this.
Yeah, so right here, 1955 is the first year of the DB2-4, and this is a Mark II car, so it's the highest performing, polished out, evolved model of the DB2. Now, it's powered by a 2.9 liter inline 6 double overhead cam dual carburetor. Let's walk around the car and take a look at this beauty. First thing you can tell initially off the front, you don't even have to know about cars to know this is an Aston Martin with that very distinctive grille.
So let's talk about why it's called a DB2 4 or Dash 4. It's because it's a 2+2 seater.
The idea behind the car was, you know, a little more family friendly, user friendly,
sports car,
sport, luxury, grand touring automobile. And it really was all that for a 1955 car. In fact, they say this car was the first production hatchback. Now, it's not confirmed information, but if it is in fact true, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
And the number of productions were so low. In fact, Mark II 1955 DB2-4s, there's probably only about 130 plus examples in the world.
And we're talking about the DB2 in total, we're looking at no more than 1,200.
1,200 from 1950 to 57. That's DB2, 2.4s, Mark 1s, 2 and 3s. Right. Now, why DB? That's a good question. A lot of people always ask, and they don't know that information.
Well, DB comes from David Brown, and David Brown actually bought the company back in 1947, and he owned it all the way till 1972. And he's the one who started off with the DBs, with the first one being the DB1.
What I find most fascinating about that he bought the company off a classified ad for 30,000 euros.
That's what it was advertised for.
He flew out, met at headquarters, test drove some prototype.
Yeah, the Atom.
The Atom, it was called at the time. And then he finally buys the company, starts production with the DB1, and they're kind of moved forward. And even today, we're at DB11.
So this car in particular is gorgeous, and it shines, and it pops, and it looks amazing.
Like I had mentioned, very high-end restoration, and we want to give Key Museum a shout out for that work. And this car came straight out of there. That was the idea behind the build. And
like we mentioned in the car, it's a car, you can drive it, and it's nice to drive. It's not the most comfortable thing, but this is a car that you want sitting in a showroom where you can come and enjoy the lines and the design of this 1950s era.
Absolutely, something that you don't see anymore today. That category of car, that genre of car has disappeared. 1955 was a different mentality, you have to understand that. It's also important to note that the production numbers were so low, but not because they were trying to number the cars or make them low production. We're talking about 1955, back in Europe type market.
Hand-built cars.
These are hand-built cars. These are hand-rolled aluminum bodies.
Wow.
So that's as much as they were able to produce, and probably as much as the demand for these cars existed was that high. It's not because they were trying to be limited. It's simply, that's all they had.
That's all they had,
That's all they had. Now, this car, we were very fortunate to team up with the new Aston Martin building here in Brickell, and we did a wonderful event. We tied in this car with the new DB11, 2 different extreme cars. We had the Vulcan right there on display.
Oh yeah, that car.
We had a beautiful cocktail with all our friends, clients.
And it really spoke about what Aston Martin is all about, which is elegance. Their attention to detail is just
and we learned a lot about that with the building developer and how Aston Martin really got involved in the building, down to the handle of the door. So that same type of mentality goes into their cars. You can see it everywhere.
We're going back to this era.
Exceptional piece of art. Let's continue going, guys. We're still here in downtown. Let's go for a drive.
Let's enjoy a little more of Miami in this beautiful car.
I love it.
Let's do it.
It's always a detail that a lot of people look at, and it shows the quality of the build and the quality of the restoration is the way the doors close. And this car in particular, I love it. I can open and close these doors all day long. They're like a refrigerator. Just check this out. So soft, so smooth. I love that. 1, 2, 3.
So it's important to mention, we did talk about David Brown, the DB, where that came from. So the first DB is known as just the DB, and it was a race car. So this DB2 was the first production DB car that
the first road-going production car.
Right, that Aston Martin.
Yeah. They were very race, inspired, like a lot of manufacturers of that era.
Right.
In those regions. And I'm having such a blast driving this thing. It's a little uncomfortable, but
you just feel nice.
It feels good. You know, I can see why this was James Bond's car of choice.
My name is Bond. James Bond. Wait, is that why you introduced yourself that way in the beginning of this video?
Of course.
All right, guys, we're here to wrap it up with this beautiful Miami skyline behind us, and of course, the beautiful and elegant DB2. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and you know what we did here today was
Absolutely.
A lot of fun.
And that's what this car is all about, right? It's embracing the lifestyle that it represents. Race world combined with production cars, an entrepreneur, Mr. David Brown, the history and heritage of this car. Unfortunately, your day ends right here with this video, but ours continues. We're gonna go for a drive. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me at Gaston Rossato.
And you can follow me at Renzo Rossato. You gotta make sure to hit that subscribe button. A lot of great things to come this year.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Peace out, guys.